Hey, gang. Welcome to another episode of the Inside WAG Nutrition Podcast. My name is Josh, but you know that by now. And I'm Chrisless today. No Chris today. But I do have a special guest here, Ibrahim Aldousari, coming in all the way from Kuwait. Man, thank you so much for coming on the show today. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Josh. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So, Abraham has been with WAG for quite a while. He started with us back in 2015, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Something like 2015 with Coach Ivette. Some of you listening might remember Ivette. We love Ivette. And then he moved over to work with Amy, Coach Amy. She was a guest on the podcast a couple months ago, and been working with her ever since.
Yeah, I mean, I was happy to work with the best coaches.
Yeah. So Ivette was like big time Olympic weightlifter, and Amy is big time CrossFitter, and you are big time CrossFitter. So that works out really well, yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I love Olympic lifting, so
Yeah.
And Yvette is like an inspiration to me. I always like call her my hero. So I always learn from her. Look up to her.
Sure. Yeah, she's still big into it too. It's inspiring to see her keep lifting like that.
I know.
And
it's amazing.
If we'll talk more about Abraham's some of the videos that he posted. Before we did the podcast, I was talking to him about how impressive it is to see him lift. He's like power snatching like more than my clean and jerk, and then he's like with muscle ups, he's like just sailing like up above the bar. It's wild stuff. So he's a great CrossFitter. He's part of a really cool gym out in Kuwait called Circuit Plus. And we'll put this all in the show notes so y'all can check out the gym. It looks like an awesome place, and he trains with a pretty good crew. So if you're a CrossFitter and you're listening to this, like saddle up, because we're probably gonna get into the weeds with some serious CrossFit talk, which I'm looking forward to for sure. So Abraham, let's get into the questions here. So let's start with where you're from, where do you live, and who do you share your life with?
Well, I'm from Kuwait, and I still live in Kuwait. I mean, I lived all around the world. I mean, I lived in the U.S., did my bachelor there, and VCU, Richmond, Virginia. Then I moved to London, did my Masters and Ph.D. I mean, now I'm back in Kuwait. I have 2 kids, and they drive me crazy. So,
how old are the kids?
5 and 7.
Oh man. So they're like, if you're not doing cardio in the gym, you're like running around chasing after them. Then
yeah. With sleepless nights, so I was like, if I had bad recovery, if my weight goes up on my check-in, it's because of them.
Amy, if you're listening, you got to pay attention to Abraham's weight. If it goes up, it's all the kid's fault. It's not his fault. Very, very important. I'll have to talk about being a dad and how important being strong and being fit is for the kids, because that's something I think about a lot too. Yeah, that'll be cool. We'll definitely have to touch on that. So you mentioned jumping around a little bit. Born in Kuwait, did your college degree here in the States, and then you finished over in London. So finishing in London and then going back to Kuwait, how long of a stretch was that?
I mean, after I started in the US, it was 2005, I think.
Okay.
Then I graduated in 2011, went back to Kuwait for a few years. in 2015, I went back to London until
Got it.
I mean, it was COVID, so it was 2020, I think.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Then I had to move
Woof.
back to Kuwait.
Gotcha.
So I've been here
So
like since 2020.
gotcha. Okay. Okay. And what did you major in? What was your degree?
Medical physics.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So I mentioned that you're part of Circuit Plus, but what do you do for a living?
I mean, I would say like an assistant professor in Kuwait University. So
Oh wow.
yeah.
That's awesome. Assistant professor at Kuwait University. I'll have to get that in the show notes.
Yes.
That's great, man. And how long have you been doing that then?
Um, I mean, a few years now. So
Okay,
yeah.
right on. And obviously, like again, I alluded to before, like very, very fit. You move a heavy barbell extremely well. You do all sorts of gymnastics movements that I'm jealous of.
Try.
How how did CrossFit come across your radar, and how did your fitness journey start?
I mean, let's talk about my like fitness journey. I would say.
Okay, yeah, definitely.
I used to play. I mean, you guys call it soccer, but we call it football. So
Football, yeah,
yeah, I used like in school.
proper.
So like middle school, high school. And then I had one of my cousins. He used to do like bodybuilding. So when I
All
was
right,
17, I started like lifting in the gym. I mean, he taught me taught me the basics and stuff. And I kept like doing bodybuilding until 2012. I remember like, I mean, back then there was no like Instagram, I think.
right.
So one of my friends like was like posting on Facebook, like, doing like heavy deadlifts, like, back squats. He was in Oregon. Um, so like asking like, what's this? Like
Yeah.
I love lifting heavy weights. So what's this? And he said it's like called CrossFit. And yeah, there's like a new gym.
Oh,
There's a new gym just like, like opened in Kuwait called like Circuit Plus. Go to this guy. His name is like, he's the like, part owner, like Badr, the Banna. So I went to him. Um, and yeah, I mean, since 2012, I'm addicted.
so yeah, you got into it like real early, like
Yeah.
2010, 2012. That's like when started seeing more of the games and more of these like bigger named athletes like coming out talking about it. And you've been at the same gym. That's even cooler. I think
It
that's
is. I
yeah,
like, with like the same group who started, in 2012, we're still like trained together. Um,
yeah.
yeah, few guys, we still like, for example, like everyone like is doing their like own program now. But or, like on Saturday, we like, like 12 p.m. class is always like the OGs.
That's cool.
We'll do the class, like, the class is packed.
I love it. So like, yeah, you mentioned doing your own programming, but you still jump into a class like every now and then.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Cool.
fun, like, like
Yeah.
especially when the workout has a lot of heavy lifting, you got to show off,
Get to flex a little bit.
Yeah.
That I think that there's so much value in doing group classes just because it's like you said, it's fun.
Yeah.
And you look around and you're like you might be looking at that guy over there and you're like, yo, he's going fast. And then you
I
pick
know.
up the pace, but
Yeah.
someone over there is looking at you going, yo, he's going fast. And so everyone like kind of keeps their eyes out and it holds you like accountable, and I like that a lot.
I mean, to be honest, I think that's the good part about like CrossFit, like, having a community. I mean, you
Oh,
would
yeah,
go
100%.
to like a global gym, everyone is like working by themselves.
Right.
But when you go to like CrossFit gym, you join a class. Even for example, if you're not feeling well, like, or like, people will push you
That's
um,
right.
to finish your workout, to do better.
Mhm.
I mean, sometimes I know, like, for example, I've been doing CrossFit for like 11 years now, or like 12.
Yeah.
You would like get a tip from someone who has been doing CrossFit for a few years. Sorry.
No problem,
So
dude.
you would learn from them. You gotta, you should never stop learning. Even someone is like younger than you, like has been doing
For
CrossFit
sure.
for a short time.
The community is huge, and the accountability too. And I'm sure you've experienced this, but when your friends or you start to see the same people, right? You go to the same classes, you start to see the same people. If they don't see you for whatever reason, then it's like you'll get a text message or something
Yeah,
that says like, "Hey, like, you all right? Haven't seen you in a few days." And you know, for whatever reason you might not have been in the gym, it's nice to have someone that just kind of checks in on you, that like cares. And
yeah, exactly.
y-
Yeah,
you don't find that like in the Globo gym kind of setting,
exactly. Yeah.
So cool. Um so what so we got a kind of a background there. Did you ever, let me ask you this, did you ever do the zone diet? Did you ever get into that?
Not really. No. I mean,
Okay.
I've heard about it, but didn't do it. I
Yeah.
when we started like doing the CrossFit, we did paleo.
Paleo.
But
Okay.
but the funny part, I started gaining weight. Uh,
Really?
because you think like oh, you can like eat whatever you want as
Yes.
long don't eat this and don't eat that.
Yep.
Um, and then a few
Isn't that
weeks
funny how that
later,
works?
I know it's you think it's gonna work for you because it worked for like Jason Khalipa, but I
Yeah.
don't know if people know Jason Khalipa now, but he's like one
I
of
hope.
the fittest like guys ever. Like he was huge. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, and then I tried a few diets. Like I can't remember like one of there was the carb backloading or something. Like
Yeah.
the one you
So
you eat carb at night,
that's
and
right.
the same thing. Like I was gaining weight. Like my coach was like fit, but I think
Hmm.
because he had a good genes. But for me, it's
Sure.
like
So, well, that's interesting because trying, I think a lot of people get twisted up that like if there's one thing that doesn't work for them, then they think, well, nothing works for me. Like you can
exactly.
get
Yeah.
really discouraged by that, but it's like it's really an experiment on yourself. You know, um, the paleo, I mean, it didn't work for you. The carb backloading, it didn't really work for you either. Um, so you had to keep tweaking things and figuring out what did work. And now, I mean, you've been with us for quite a while, so we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. But like you were just talking about CrossFit and never stop learning, like it's the same thing with diet. Like
Exactly.
you just have to keep like tinkering with things to figure out what works best for you. So what did? So you were kind of in your journey. You figured out that these two things didn't really work for you. It was working for everybody else, but it wasn't working for you. So what was something that you kind of stumbled upon before you started working with WAG that you were like, oh, okay, this is actually working now? Was there something in particular that kind of clicked for you?
I remember before like doing WAG, one of my friends had a coach. Um, like she was like giving him like or like teaching him how to use MyFitnessPal.
Oh, right.
So I mean, I tried. It wasn't uh, like 100% accurate, but I tried it, and I mean, I started seeing changes.
Got it.
So I know back then, like that works, but I
Mhm.
didn't have anyone to basically like program like something exactly for me.
Yeah. And that, so you were kind of doing it yourself. You were kind of like maybe reading about it and then kind of figuring
Yeah.
out like your own. Were you doing macro counting? Like were you figuring out your own macros, or were you not
Um,
quite that
yeah,
specific
I
yet?
was using like a website. Um,
Okay.
yeah, there was a guy. I think. I mean, I'm not sure if he's still doing it. It's like a website called Scoopy something, but
Okay.
It's like some big guy, some like bodybuilding guy. And the funny
Right
part
on.
is like, because he's from the US and he was like using ounces. So I was like measuring ounces like in the I would say like the measuring cup. When it says like
Oh,
8 ounces, I was like, but I mean it
damn.
works. So it's like, but
Sure.
was it? But man, like I was like, when it says like ounces, like it means like in a scale. I never just used a scale in my life.
Yeah. So the big time
So
learning curve there, and having done it that way, like you learned a lot. But I mean,
yeah,
you're also like, oh man, like damn.
you feel dumb, but
Feel
it's part. I mean, part of learning that you do a lot of mistakes.
yeah. That I mean, I remember very distinctly the first time when I started measuring my food and my macros, and it's all, for whatever reason it was the peanut butter, and I weighed out like a portion of peanut butter, and I was like, oh no, I've been eating so much of this, and like
Uh,
it was such a drag. 'Cause, you're like one of these foods that you find yourself just eating pretty often. It's
yeah,
high, calorie density. Calories are there, and there's so many calories and macros for such a little
yeah.
amount. You're like, oh man.
I always like tell this example to people. Like during my bachelor, like we always like go to the Cheesecake Factory,
Oh
and
man.
then after I started like doing WAG, I was
Mhm.
like checking the macros. I was like, really?
Oh,
It's like
dude.
like one portion is like almost like my whole calories for like one day. It's like I remember like one of their pastas like 2,800 calories.
Oh my god.
I like used to eat it like,
Of course.
but yeah. That's
Dude.
that's like one of the other things that you learn when you start like counting. Um,
Mhm.
I mean, you learn that not everything like um, is like I would say like good for you.
That's
Like,
right.
and we eat a lot of stuff that we wonder why we gain weight, but maybe it's like a small like portion, but
Yeah,
it's like calorie dense. And
for
like
sure.
even like now like working with people like they come and ask you like I'm trying to get fit, but I'm not eating much, but I'm still getting weight. What do you eat? And you think like I'm just like a small portion of this dish or like whatever. But yeah, I mean this like small portion is like half your calories for a day.
Yeah, and that small portion might be happening multiple times,
Yeah,
you
exactly.
know, and those like little nuances people get tripped up on.
Yeah,
Um, the other thing is like if like you were talking about asking people like, well, what do you eat? A lot of people can't even answer that question.
yeah,
A lot of people, it's interesting. I think us being into CrossFit and into this this is kind of our world. All of your friends are probably CrossFitters or weightlifters, or you know they're in the space, and the same with me and my wife and everyone at the gym. It's like when we ask each other like, oh, what kind of diet are you doing, or how are you eating right now? It's like right away we know. We just pay attention to it. But for people that are just getting into it, that concept is just like they're like, I don't know. I think we had, hamburgers on Monday,
uh,
I think, and that awareness is also something that you gain from like tracking,
yeah.
and that can be really helpful.
Yeah, I mean, even like a lot of people that would say that, I'm eating healthy, but how much healthy you're eating? Like, that's the thing is like, I mean, even like, I was like tell this like example, even like eating like too much lettuce is bad for you.
Sure.
Um, I mean, if you eat a lot of lettuce, and exceed your macros, I don't know how
Yeah,
much can eat,
you have to eat a lot, but yeah.
but
So
still, I mean, it's bad. I mean,
yeah, well, so kind of like digging into this a little bit more, you mentioned that people talking to you about
uh,
eating.
yeah,
So at your gym, You mentioned coaching at your gym. Do you get people like seeing what you're doing and they're like, "Yo, hey, I want to do what you're doing. How do I do it?" And then
Yeah,
you kind of like, yeah, like tell me how that conversation goes, or like,
I
yeah,
mean, a lot of people like come and like ask you, but too many people
sure.
think you're on something. Like you're doping.
Oh boy, yeah, that's
I
yeah,
get, I
100%.
get, I get that coming a lot. But the thing is, like, I was like, to be honest, I was like, I've been like, since like, I started doing WAG, I was like telling you have to basically work for me, work for, like work for everyone else. Um, but going back, it's I get that question a lot. Of like people would tell me. I remember like this guy told me I want to be like you. He made my day.
Of
Um,
course.
yeah. But the thing is, like, yeah, I mean, he can be better than me. It's
Right.
just you have to stay consistent. That's the thing. I think
Yeah.
a lot of people like they get bored. Like they don't want to.
Hmm.
They don't want to do the job.
Yeah.
They want everything easily. So I think I would say like if you want to get in shape or weight more, I mean lift more, you gotta stay consistent. You gotta do the work. Uh, there's nothing like comes easy.
That's
I mean,
true.
even if you want to dope, I mean, it's something I'm against, but you still have to do the work. It doesn't like sound
That's right.
magic.
Yeah. You don't just start it and then like poof, like
Yeah,
yeah, you got to put the work in, like no
yeah,
matter what. Um, and yeah, people all people see is like the highlight reels. You know what I mean? Like good Instagram video, but they don't see the weeks and weeks and months
yeah,
of work that it took to get perhaps that one lift or that one workout. And that's like simultaneously the cool thing about social media and like also the downfall is like you just said you've been doing CrossFit for you know 12 years, and I look at your Instagram and I'm like, yo, this guy's knocking it out of the park. And it's like, well, yeah, because he's put the work in. And people don't see that.
yeah. I mean, even like it's like funny thing to mention. I was like checking, like playing with my Fitness Pal the other day,
Hmm.
and I saw that like my first login was in 2014. I mean, it's something I'm proud of. Like, you gotta be
Sure.
proud of yourself or like new work. So I think like, staying consistent and like, putting the work, you will see like results. I mean, it might not happen like, within a month or two,
Right.
but it takes time. I remember like when I started like, like WAG, I think it was November 2015 was the highest weight I've been in my life was 107 kg. I remember, like,
Okay.
like for like 4 months, I didn't
Wow.
work out. I was eating every night. I think it was Domino's, and like a pint of Ben and Jerry's because it was my masters,
Whoa. Sure.
uh, and like I was like stressed. I didn't have time to train, and then every now and then I would say like I'm gonna start tomorrow. I'm gonna be back.
Yeah.
Well, then like one day you just wake up and you see yourself in the mirror like oh the future doesn't fit you anymore. So sorry, you gotta
That's okay.
you gotta be take a step forward and start.
Yeah.
And I
So,
mean, once you start, like you learn, and I would say you see the results. You will not stop
yeah.
because being being overweight wasn't just about the look. I wasn't sleeping well. Um, I didn't feel good. I mean, I couldn't like even like breathe well. I'm sorry. Yeah,
It's okay.
but yeah, once you start to like see the results and you see the changes, I would say you look good like wearing everything. Um,
Hmm.
I remember like I saw something that like on Instagram. I mean, it was like a quote or something. I mean, if you want to look good in everything you wear, just stay fit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That just kind of stuck with you then.
Yeah. And I mean, just like feeling good about yourself, it's amazing. You know, you have confidence.
Yeah.
You would walk and like, you know, and everyone like, you know, looks at you. It's
Yeah.
something good.
Yeah. And like you said, that guy at the gym was like, I want to be like you, you know? And you're like, wow, like feels pretty good.
Yeah.
Feels pretty good. Let's go back a little bit then to when you decided to take that step to kind of make those changes. And you signed up with WAG and you got hooked up with Ivette. Do you remember looking for a coach and like do you remember how that process went and how you kind of found working against gravity?
Um, I remember like exactly. I was doing Catalyst athletics weightlifting program.
Oh, Catalyst. Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, Catalyst. So I remember like they did something. There was like, you know, I mean, I was looking into like my workout or something, and I saw something like popped up that they're doing something with WAG.
Right. We had a
Um,
partnership.
yeah. So I was like, I gotta do it. Like I don't know. To be honest, I didn't even like know what was like what WAG was. I know it's like, you know, nutrition coach.
Sure.
Because I mean, I just needed something to get me going. And just like signed up. Didn't even like read the
Yeah.
description, like whatever. I thought like, you know, they would like I thought they would tell me what to eat. Like because
Oh,
most of
okay.
like
Like a
nutrition
meal
coach, like they
plan
would,
kind of thing.
yeah, you
Got
know,
it.
you gotta eat like, you know, 300 grams of rice and 150
Yeah.
grams of chicken, like whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then when I started, like, you know, yeah, you know, these are your macros. And there's no cheat meal. Like I'm used to having a cheat meal. Like,
Yeah.
so yeah, I remember like,
That's
you know, I was just like, you know, didn't know what it is, but it was, but I think it was my, I wouldn't say it was a stupid choice, but it was like, like when you know, like when you buy something, you don't know what it is. Like, I did the same, like, just like, I just want to enjoy it. Like, I don't know what it
yeah.
is, but I want to get fit. Doesn't matter
Right.
how it goes.
And that was like the association, you know. It was like you see, it's like, oh well, like you said, you were doing Catalyst,
Yeah,
and you know, you were like, well, these people are doing it, so I'm going to do it too.
yeah,
And that's like, and that was it. That's cool. I think that a lot of people do that. And I mean, I think some people get in over their head and they come in and they're like, whoa, this is not what I expected.
yeah,
But I mean, that's up to us as coaches to kind of like, you know, figure that out quick and kind of disseminate the process and you know the macros and the guidance to kind of get them on board. But someone that's very motivated, like you were doing Olympic lifting and really wanted to take charge of your nutrition, you just dove in. Like you said, you were expecting a meal plan, but when you didn't get one, you probably said, "Okay, well, got to figure this out," and
yeah.
you did.
But yeah, I mean, as I say, like, because I tried, like, you know, like weighing my food and stuff before that, so I was pretty familiar with the process.
Cool.
Um, I still have the Excel sheets from 2015, like, because there was no app.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
it
right.
was like Excel sheet. You have to email like every week.
We've talked about that on the show before. It used to all be in Gmail. Like you would just send an email to
Yeah,
Yvette
yeah,
with your
exactly.
spreadsheet.
Yeah,
I mean, I started, actually, it was pretty close to that same time, if being honest. I started as a client around then too. I want to say it was December. So literally, feel very close
yeah,
to when you started. But yeah, I remember I have the spreadsheets and, you know, attaching the photos, you know, to the email, the whole
yeah,
deal. Um, so started with Yvette, did that for a couple years, and then you got hooked up with Coach Amy
yeah.
and been working with her for the past, geez, 4 years? Would that be right?
Yeah.
Do some
I mean,
math.
I'm not good with dates now, but
Yeah, that's okay.
oh, it
That's
was
okay.
like in the last day of Yvette that moved with Amy.
Yeah. Um. So, um, obviously, as time goes, um, goals change. You know, things change. Your fitness goals change. I mean, obviously, like you. So you started at. So I'm getting ahead of myself now. You started at 107, and then
Yeah.
what was at your at like your leanest point, like especially those first like 12 weeks, like what was how much weight did you end up losing?
I mean, I remember like, my lowest weight was 87. So that was like a 20
Wow.
kg drop.
Wow,
Um,
man.
in I think 6, 7 months.
Wow. Dude,
And
that's
yeah, I mean,
wild.
like, usually like, when you see like people like, drop all that weight, they wouldn't look good. Well, I looked like really shredded. I mean,
you're like
I
you're
was
like, yeah,
like,
well, I looked
I'm
good.
like, yeah, it is.
Yeah. Um and
So,
so that was like that was the first like 6 months, give or take, that you were like on the
yeah.
program, you lost like boom, like pretty steadily. Um so where I guess what am I trying to say? After that, like were you able to maintain that pretty easily, or were you interested in maintaining that level of leanness?
Yeah, of course. I mean, once you look good,
Yeah.
you don't wanna go back.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. And then even like, even I mean, to be honest, like going to 87, I don't remember. Like, I'm a big guy, but I don't remember like, dropping to that weight
Right.
since high school. uh, but yeah, but the thing is, like when you're like, too lean, it's like hard, like, to do CrossFit. I mean, you're light,
Oh,
um,
right.
like, doing muscle ups and all these things. But I mean, somehow, like, your joints, like, is kind of stiff.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know if it's just me or everyone else, but I think it's like
No, I
being
mean,
too lean with CrossFit,
yeah,
it doesn't work. So you gotta,
yeah,
I remember like I said, like maintaining. Then I put it up, like a couple of like kgs. I still
mhm,
looked good. Like I was like shredded too,
yeah,
but not as like I mean,
yeah,
like my body fat was a bit higher than 87.
sure. Yeah, I guess like what I of course, like you get super shredded and super in shape, like you want to maintain that, like of course. I guess I could have rephrased that question, like you knew what it took to get you to 87, and you probably had to be pretty regimented and pretty dialed in to like get
Yeah,
down to that. Um, some people have trouble with that, you know, continuing on a lot of those habits, because it's so far out of their norm. And obviously, I mean, I'm sure you've seen this before, and us as coaches have, seen this before too. Or someone does really well, um, and then they might leave WAG, or do something else, and the weight comes back,
yeah,
and they were just unable to maintain the kind of lifestyle and the habits that it took to get them there in the first place. So I guess that's what I was curious about, is like knowing what it took to get there. Like, how did you kind of maintain that and apply it going
I
on
mean,
past that?
because I was eating whatever I want, like I mean, that's the thing. I think when I mean, I love food, but
Yeah.
once you know how much you should eat and like you can enjoy food, like
Mhm.
for example, like I'm gonna eat burger like tomorrow. I would like
Yeah.
plan it from tonight, so
Sure.
I would still eat my burger, but I wouldn't like like ruin my day.
Yeah.
Um, so I mean, I think that's like the beauty about like WAG. I mean, if you
Yeah.
know how to use it and if you plan your day, you wouldn't get bored. You would still like eat like whatever you want,
Yeah.
and still look good.
Yeah.
So I think
That's
that's what kept me going until now because I'm still like enjoying food. I'm like I'm like enjoying my mom's food. When you go out, like you gotta eat ice cream, like eat like a steak or like eat a burger, like whatever. I
Mhm.
mean, it's not like 100% accurate, but you would still. Um, I mean, if you don't worry too much about like your weight, for example, like I would understand like if someone um like go into a competition where they have to fit into a certain like weight
Yeah. Weight
category.
class.
Yeah. Well, once you're like you have family, your dad, you gotta enjoy food with the kids, and sometimes
For
they would
sure.
like they would ruin your
Yeah.
diet, like you weigh your food and they start like snacking with you.
Yeah. That's so true. And one of the other things about being a parent is like, especially with young kids, is like not a lot of, I mean, I should say, I can't generalize like that, but most of the time with like little kids, they'll eat a little bit and then they have this plate of food and then you're like cleaning up and you're like, well, there go these little bites like here and there. And those little bites can add up, man. That's, that's tough. So, um, along those lines of like being a dad uh, and being such a uh, heavy lifter and good CrossFit athlete, just in generally just really good shape. Um, how does your eating habits like rub off on like the rest of the family? Like, do they see you eating healthy and therefore like you kind of impart that kind of wisdom and that kind of idea like to them?
I mean, yeah, of course. Like, they always like asking why I weigh my food. I mean, my
Hmm.
kids. Like, I tell them like to be healthy, to be able to play with you. Even like my son, like once told like I was like I took my shirt off and he like told me I want to be like you. I mean, it
Oh
was funny, but
man.
he told me like I'm fat. I was like, you're not fat. He just like so I told him like that's why you need to eat healthy and like stop
Yeah,
all the chocolate. I mean, he can eat chocolate, but not too much.
that's right.
Uh, Even like remember like when my brother-in-law he told my sister that I want my kids to look like Abraham. So
Oh
so
wow.
I mean it's even in the family like
Yeah, you're
it's
locked in now, man.
yeah you gotta stay in shape for life.
Yeah, yeah. It's so important to be able to do whatever you want to do with your kids whenever you want to
Yeah,
do it.
yeah.
Um, you mentioned Jason Khalipa earlier. There was an email that he just put out in his newsletter, that had the same kind of sentiment. Was like, I never want to be in a spot where I have to say no, I can't. You know,
Exactly.
and talking about specifically physical fitness and being healthy for his family. Um, and I was like, man, is that true? You know, I think as dads and I mean, uh, moms too that work out and take care of themselves. Also, it's like there's just like there's such a great responsibility for you to take care of yourself, so you can be around and
Of
show up.
course. Yeah.
Um, do your kids watch you work out?
Sometimes, yeah. I mean, they usually
Yeah.
like, which I mean, they watch my like Instagram page with my mom sometimes, and or like uh, my dad. So they enjoy it.
They you ever
I mean,
take them to the
I
gym?
take
Yeah.
them to the gym sometimes, but the thing is like when there's a lot of people like lifting, they would like just like run around.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
I mean,
dangerous, man. You can't
yeah.
do
I mean, for
that.
now, I mean, yeah,
Yeah, I mean, our boy he'll be 4 in December, and it's like if we take him to the gym and there's a workout going on, or like, we wanted to bring him during one of the open workouts, and it's like it's not a good time for anybody because
yeah,
you're just constantly corralling, so you want them to be a part of it and see you doing physical fitness, but it's like, man, there's a time and a place to do it. Um, so yeah, when I see your videos, I'm always curious to see if your kids are ever there, like
no,
watching you do these,
but they do. My son do jiu-jitsu and he play soccer. So
oh, cool. So
yeah,
active.
yeah. So
Very cool. Um, so going back to coaching, I'm gonna put Amy on the spot here a little bit.
Yeah.
She won't mind. My question to you is, working with Amy, what's one of the things that she has shared with you that has made a significant impact on either like your your life in general, or just like your performance in CrossFit or weightlifting? Like, is there something that jumps out that like she suggested or you guys talked about that you implemented and you're like, wow, this really changed a lot?
I mean, I remember like she told me something about one of the. I mean, it's still like helping me now, like using like like the like salt. Forgot the name of the brand, but it's basically electrolytes I use during like your workout.
Oh yeah.
Um, yeah, so I mean, it helped me a lot. I used to have some cramps and like get a bit tired.
Mm-hmm.
Also, like having like once you feel down, just to get some carb and stuff like enter
Yeah.
workout. I mean, I learned it from her like every week. To be honest,
Oh,
um,
that's awesome.
and I think like to be honest, like most of the things you see either from like Yvette or Amy, like Yvette,
Hmm.
is still competing as a weightlifter.
Totally.
I think in Yvette, I think she made it to the quarterfinal, like semifinal last year, didn't
Yeah,
she?
she did.
So yeah, so I mean, I think you would like they inspire you, like I think like sometimes you just like follow someone on like on Instagram. They would make a post, like post something on Instagram.
Hmm.
They wouldn't think, they just like post it. They don't think that it's gonna inspire someone, but
Hmm.
you see someone that they have a successful job, they're doing really good in their life, they're traveling. You see like Amy like hiking every now and then. Um, and like she's a good cook. Like I think most of the recipes on WAG website is like from Amy.
It is. Yeah,
So I
she does
mean,
a
yeah, I mean
ton.
that's it's not sometimes it's not what they say, it's what they do. That like
Oh,
help
there you go.
yeah, that helps you to get better. Like you look up to someone, yeah, I'm gonna be like them. Um,
Wow, I love
yeah,
that.
yeah.
I love that.
But yeah,
Um,
I mean, every week, like
wow.
she would like, I think like she's sick of me like not talking too much. Like like my check-in always like boring because it's like always, hey, hope you're doing well. You know, I
Yeah.
would just like complain about my sleep maybe, and then like yeah, that's it. So she try like to like make me talk, but I'm usually
She
like bad
tries to
like.
make you talk.
But I'm usually like
Oh
bad
man.
with the, like like typing and
Sure.
even like talking. Like I mean, like I'm a text guy. Like if you text me, I would like
You
talk to
text.
you. But but if you talk to me, they're like
Dude, I tell people this all the time. Like, you want like the boring weeks. That's usually when things are going pretty well.
yeah,
When things are like you're just your things are going good with your nutrition, things are going good with your workouts, things at home and sleep, like things are going good. It's like, all right, well, talk to you next week.
yeah,
And that's it. But it's like a lot of times that's when the most progress actually happens. Excuse me.
no,
When things are kind of boring.
yeah.
Um, so I guess in closing here, we're getting here to the end. Um, what's a piece of advice that you really like to give people in the gym? We can
Oh
we can
yeah.
we can go with training and nutrition if you want to. Like, someone comes up to you and starts asking you questions. What's a
I
good
mean,
takeaway?
to be honest, like I mean, the thing is like I mean, there's a. I mean, I would say there's a quote like from the Quran, if I can use that. It says like
Yeah,
we
please.
made like God like made everything in like moderation. So I would say like even like food, get into your life. I mean, yeah, maybe there's like eating too much of something is like bad for you, but you gotta still enjoy life. You gotta enjoy life with your family, with your kids, with your wife, your partner, um, your parents, friends. You gotta enjoy life. Don't stick to like something, or don't stick to something and keep eating. And then suddenly get bored, and then I would say you explode. Eating like bad.
Yeah.
So just eat in moderation. There's no bad. I mean, I believe there's nothing such a bad food. It's like the quantity is bad. No, the
100%. Yep.
the type of food.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, find your what you should eat, or like how much you should eat, and enjoy life. I mean, that's what make you keep going, like doing the same thing.
That's right.
Eating whatever you want, like going out and enjoy your life. Yeah, about training. I mean, for me, I'm not too old. Like I'm 37, but I want to have the same thing, like do the same thing when I'm 70, 60.
Yeah.
Still being able to walk by myself, carry my groceries and get up the stairs. I'm not wait for someone to put me on a wheelchair, like whatever. I think I think I think it's science based now that lifting weight when you're young will help you to get you would still be in a good health when you're old, because muscle will protect your joints, will protect everything, even your brain, it's not just about looking good, it's about feeling good about yourself, about
That's right.
moving straight up.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's great, man. The longevity piece is it's so important, and especially when you have kids, it becomes more. It's on your mind a lot more than it was before you had
Exactly.
kids.
And I mean, it's just like one thing to add. I mean, now when you see CrossFit games, you would see people competing where they're 70 and 80. I mean, it's and I told you it's something. It's like what people do, not what people say. Looking at them, you would say, I mean, if someone always, like my dad used to tell me, if someone else did something, you can always do it. So
Oh,
if
cool! I love
someone
that.
is if someone got fit when they're 70, it's not too late to start. I mean,
Sure.
yeah. So you just have to start and keep going. You
Yeah.
have to lift, all these big guys, but you have to lift. You don't have to be 100% strict about your food, but you have to, I would say measure your portions and enjoy life.
Yeah. That's great, man. That's
Uh,
it. I mean, that's it in a nutshell. It's like you got to find that balance.
yeah,
There's a time to be super, super dialed. There's a time not to be, and there's a time
exactly.
for all the in between too.
Yeah.
So cool, man. Well, um, gang, that's going to wrap it up for this week's episode. So, before we take off here, I want to promote Abraham a little bit. He's a WAG ambassador. So if you are interested in getting one-on-one coaching with us at Working Against Gravity, you can do that by going to workingagainstgravity.com /join, and you can use Abraham's code, which is HIM50. It's capital HIM 50, and that'll get you $50 off your first month of coaching with us at Working Against Gravity. And like I say at every episode, you'll be glad you did it. You'll be glad you did it, gang. So, Abraham, thank you again so much for coming on today. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I think it's the first time I talk too much with.
No, dude. That's what people want. People don't want to hear me talk. They want to hear you
No, I
talk,
mean,
man.
I think Amy will be shocked.
Oh, Amy, if you're still listening, you have to ask Abraham about all of it. So, all right, man. Well, thank you so much, and gang,
you.
we'll talk to you again next time.
Thank you, man. Thank you.